What's going on, guys? It's been a minute. Hope everybody has had a great Thanksgiving weekend as we are trying to get back into normalcy. We're met with the coldest air of the season. That is going to blast in for most of Florida. We're feeling it, of course, on your Tuesday, but it's going to get even colder as we get into Wednesday. It's so cold, in fact, that we could have a frost and freeze across parts of Florida, especially the northern half. Then we're going to focus on later on in the week, towards Thursday, Friday, and the weekend. It's going to turn stormy again. This is the pattern that we highlighted a couple of months ago when we issued our winter outlook, or my thoughts on the winter. So far, it is coming into fruition as we transition from November into December. If you're not a fan of this chilly stuff, big warm up already coming in the pipeline. As typical, our cold blasts don't typically last too long. Hey, if you want to stay updated on what could be an active winter ahead, you have to hit subscribe. If you want to stay updated to everything weather in Florida, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you find this content helpful, give it a thumbs up. It really does help us out a lot. All right, so a bunch of colors on your map here. This is going to be the frost and freeze potential. We're going to get right on into it here. If you are looking at the pink color, this is where we have the potential for frost on Wednesday mornings. That's going to be Marion County, interior Volusia, interior Flagler, getting into the Big Bend area. But then where we see here, that purple color, that is where a freeze is going to be possible. That's going to be air temperatures getting to 32 degrees or colder than that. Again, it is going to be cold, so this is the kind of night that you want to protect your plants, especially if you live northwest of I-4. Orlando area, likely not going to see frost. You may see some patchy frost north of Orlando, again on the rooftops. It's really, again, Marion County, interior Volusia, Northern Lake, into Flagler, and then points north for us into North Florida, to the west of I-95, and then into the Panhandle, Big Bend, Panama City, Tallahassee. That is where we're going to have that main frost potential and freeze potential getting into tomorrow. So I want to show you the forecast here, and this is the model forecast, and I think some of these are a little bit too warm. I think we're going to be flirting with the 20s, pretty much Lake City area, right along the Georgia-Florida border, Tallahassee. We're going to get into the 30s. We're going to get into likely the middle 30s into Ocala. And again, where you see the air temperature here, this is one of those kind of weird things. Officially, the temperature is recorded 2 meters above the ground, about 6 feet above the ground. Well, the coldest air settles right near the surface. So where you see what it's reading on the temperature, it's likely a degree or two colder right along the ground there. So again, when you see these temperature forecasts at 36 or whatever, freeze, of course, you need 32. We're going to be in that ballpark again whenever you're looking at the surface level. Going to be chilly for us in Fort Myers as well, 50, 57 in Marco Island. This isn't iguana falling out of the trees weather just yet for us in Southwest Florida. A little bit too warm. We're getting close, but it's not going to be as cold again for us in Southwest Florida. Still jacket-worthy weather. Getting into high temperatures tomorrow. This is going to be Wednesday at 4 o'clock, and you see we're back into the low to mid-60s in Orlando, mid to upper 50s in Ocala, staying into the mid-50s across the northern tier of Florida, upper 60s and low to mid-70s, depending upon where you're at in South Florida. Again, look at this, Key West. Again, all the cold air getting into Florida. We're talking temperature struggling to get out of the 60s for us, even in Key West. So again, we'll gradually build back out of this chill as we work our way into Thursday and especially Friday into the weekend. But then we are met with our next system. And I think the water vapor imagery here tells the story, and it tells the setup not only for the next 7-ish days, but really for the entire season. And this is that subtropical jet stream. You see all of this moisture in white and blue here, just kind of blasting from the Pacific over Mexico through the Gulf of Mexico, and then right on into Florida. This is where we can get these little dips in the polar jet stream up here. That's the polar jet right here. So that's what's delivering that colder air. So there are two jet streams kind of combining here, but we get these storms to develop along the North Gulf Coast. I'm getting a lot of circles on this map. Let me delete that. So we get storms that develop right about here and then kind of work their way that way, blast the northeast, but of course Florida is in the middle of that. We can typically get a lot of heavy rain. We've already seen that a couple of times this year. November's been atypically cloudy and wet, but then we also get a potential for severe weather in Florida when we get these as well. And when you get the polar jet involved, that's when the northeast gets slammed with snow, given that the cold air is in place. But that's a story for them for another time. Should not get snow out of this deal. Regardless, again, that was for the northeast when I mentioned the S word. Here's the model forecast for that, and I kind of want to show you what happens over the next few days. So you see this little circle here that kind of rolls through. That is high pressure. So high pressure on Wednesday and Thursday kind of sit on top of us, and then it rolls back out here. This is something that we call return flow. We get the winds to shift from the north and west to the north and east, then eventually out of the south and east again. So by the time we get into Thursday, that's kind of transition day out of the chill and then to warmer days ahead as we shift our wind out of the south and east and eventually out of the south and west. And now, as we move forward, let me get my H's off the screen here because we have a big chunk of low pressure. This is one system that develops as we get into Friday. Cold front extended right here, but that is going to bring the potential for rain to Florida, especially for North Florida. So that system gets on out of here. That is kind of up towards the Canadian Maritimes now. Let me delete the screen again. But then we have some trailing moisture coming through. So the cold front kind of gets hung up through North Florida. And then we have another system that kind of rides that, at least some moisture pushing through. So there we go as we get into Friday into Saturday. And again, this is mostly focusing on central to North Florida. So South Florida, at least at this point, it looks like, at least through these first two, we're going to miss out on a lot of the rain. So here we go. This is the model forecast through about Saturday. And you see what happens. This is through Saturday at 11, where most of the heavy rain focuses on North Gulf Coast, including the Florida Panhandle. Look at that, anywhere from 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches of rain coming our way to part of the Florida Panhandle. We will fine tune that, but this is just kind of an early heads up. We're likely going to have a couple of rounds of blobbiness, if you will, as these storms develop in that subtropical jet stream that is going to be more active than normal because of that El Nino pattern. That is the typical El Nino pattern, which you've highlighted a lot on this channel, and we will highlight a lot again going forward. But this is what's going to keep us cloudier than what we would typically see in a winter and cooler and wetter than what we would typically see, at least what we are accustomed to, what I like to call the better 6 months of the year for living in Florida. It may not be as pleasant as we are accustomed to or what we would like. It's good to see you guys again. Again, if you found interest, if you found this video helpful, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. It's a small little ask, but it goes such a long way to helping us out. And if you want to stay updated on all things Florida weather as we are now transitioning out of hurricane season, again, we are about to be done and no new developments expected in the tropics, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you next time.